At all times, at least one of the United States' four major men's professional sports leagues, the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, and MLB, is in season. So all year, roving packs of enormous dudes, their staffs, and their stuff endlessly crisscross our great continent. To the layman, this seems exciting because sports are fun. To me, this is exciting because logistics. Think about it. How do you move all this from point A to point B, let alone point C? I could make a video about any league's travel, but today we're focusing on Major League Baseball. Two reasons. One, my writer Amy is always talking about it anyway, and two, MLB's 6-month regular season involves a staggering 2,430 games. Baseball teams play nearly twice as many games as skaters or hoopsters, and way more than these fellas. Here's what 1 month of one season of baseball travel looks like for one team. Multiply that by 30, and that's what MLB has going on. How do you organize that? It starts with the schedule. The season goes from late March to September, mostly comprising 3-game series in single cities with very few days off. So, for example, the Kansas City Royals start July of 2025 with 3 games in Seattle, then fly down for 3 more in Phoenix, then fly home for 3 more in Kansas City before getting a break. Teams are only required to schedule an off day after 20 straight days of games and aren't allowed more than 2 in a week. Because the travel can be so brutal, players get an off day between series in the Eastern time zone and Pacific time zone, but even that has 14 exceptions. The schedule is so tight that teams usually start preparing to travel before a game even ends, arrive in the new city overnight, then play the very next day. The game before your team travels is called a getaway game, and this formula dictates its start time. 7 p.m. minus a value equal to the flight time between your current city and the next one per this chart, minus 2.5 hours. This intends to get teams to their next city by about 1 a.m., barring an overly long getaway game. Most teams just schedule getaways in the afternoon, but some, cough, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, are notorious for starting them as late as possible to the constant chagrin of their players. So how do the travel days go? That's up to each team's travel director, or travel manager, or logistics baboon, or whatever each team calls the position. They start plotting a season's travel in May or June, a year in advance, coordinating everything from charter flights to semi-trucks to suitcases to coach buses to hotels and beyond. And on a getaway day, they're about as busy as any of the players. As soon as the baseball team throws the first pitch, the travel and equipment teams start packing for the road. And they don't pack light. By one account, the Arizona Diamondbacks travel with 8,000 pounds of gear, like baseballs, bats, mitts, training equipment, medical supplies, etc., and 4,500 pounds of luggage. Everything not being used on the field is packed onto a semi-truck by the 8th inning. In the meantime, the travel director is locking a departure time for their team's charter flight. Most teams use Delta or United. They also coordinate with the coach bus that will bring the team to the airport and hold a security briefing about the next city, hotel, and stadium. As soon as the game is over, players pack their uniforms, personal items, preferred bats, and other equipment into identical name-tag suitcases for the equipment folk to pack and move. Then they do post-game interviews, shower, and hit the road. The bus takes them directly to the tarmac. Some teams do airport security at the stadium before they leave, others do it right outside the plane, but either way, you won't see them in line at TSA. The equipment team loads their bags and gear into the cargo hold in advance, so once the traveling party, i.e. the team, their interpreters, their trainers, their equipment managers, etc., board, it's time for takeoff. Team planes, by the way, are not created equal. The Dodgers, one of the richest teams in the league, flies 2 planes anywhere they go. One for the players, one for the entourage. The Yankees, one of the other richest teams, as of a few years ago, didn't even pay for their players to have in-flight Wi-Fi. Some teams have custom plane interiors with poker tables and lie-flat beds or extra first-class seats. Some do not. One team, the Detroit Tigers, actually owns their own plane, a 737 they share with the Detroit Red Wings. When a plane lands, players get bused to their hotel, which is, quote, first class, per union contract, and their bags get brought to their rooms. Every hotel gets approved by the team's player representative before the season starts and, per the contract, has food available until at least 1 a.m. As an example, the Mets, when in Washington, D.C., stay at the Ritz-Carlton. Once everyone and all their stuff is safely in their rooms for the night, it's bedtime. The next day, all their gear gets trucked over to the new stadium. Trainers set up their weight room, and the equipment team sets up the locker room and dugout with each player's uniforms, preferred bats, etc. There are always 2 buses from the hotel to the stadium for players, one for the early risers and one for the sleepyheads. Once they're there, they get ready, warm up, play 3 games, and do it all again. That's what happens on a regular day during the regular season. But travel managers deal with many irregular situations. As an example, let's time travel to September 24th, 2024. The New York Mets are playing their first of 3 games in Atlanta, but Hurricane Helene threatens the next 2 and their ability to get to Milwaukee for their series that starts on the 27th. Their travel guy, Edgar Suero, has Delta move up their charter flight and has their hotel in Milwaukee get their dozens and dozens of rooms prepped a few days early. The guys get to Milwaukee, then play their games as scheduled, then Suero coordinates flights, buses, and hotels back to Atlanta on the 29th because they're playing a makeup doubleheader on the 30th. The Mets win 1, securing a spot in the playoffs, which start the very next day. The thing is, their opponent in that first playoff round could be any of 3 teams, so the next day, they could play again in Atlanta, or back in Milwaukee, or all the way in San Diego. So Suero books first-class hotel blocks in all 3 cities for that series, as well as later in every city they might play in up to the hypothetical World Series, even though most of those reservations won't be used. Not all travel is team travel. Sometimes a team brings a guy up from the minor leagues or trades for a guy from a different team. When they do, the team has to physically get him to wherever they are. They can fly him private or commercial, but if it's commercial, it has to be first class and nonstop. If first class isn't available, it must be business. If business isn't available, he can be in coach, but they also have to buy 3 seats for every 2 guys. And it's one thing to rush a guy in for some home games, but in 2024, the San Diego Padres had to rush a guy to South Korea. They were starting their season there and acquired pitcher Dylan Cease while they were boarding their charter flight to Seoul. Their travel manager scrambled to get him out there in time, eventually settling for flying him commercial from Arizona with a connection through Los Angeles, and working with MLB and the South Korean consulate to expedite a short-term work visa to allow him to play. The trade happened on a Wednesday. He was on a plane Thursday. He was on the pitcher's mound Monday. That's the game. Get your guys in the air, in their beds, on buses, then on fields, no matter the cost. It may not get the same glory as whacking dingers or winning rings, but to those of us with a taste for logistics, MLB travel managers are the real all-stars. That's why I'm writing them all in on my next all-star game ballot. So, a 2,430 game season may seem long, but it's only about 7,290 hours. That's nothing compared to this video's sponsor, 80,000 hours. They're a nonprofit whose name comes from the fact that an average person will work 80,000 hours in their lifetime, enough time to do a lot of good in the world if you so choose. Their free guides offer tons of info on different career paths you could take, different problems in the world and how your work could help solve them, and more. Plus, they have a whole career planning course to help you make an actual plan for what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. The goal is simple: help you find a fulfilling career that suits your skills and interests and makes the world a better place. If that sounds good to you, head to the link in the description and get your free copy of their career guide and get their newsletter, which contains everything from career advice to new research to job postings in high-impact fields. This literally costs nothing and could set you on a path to 80,000 hours of fulfilling, important work. So click now.